Society often imposes these unrealistic expectations on men, that men are big and strong and they show no emotion and that they shouldn't cry. Well, guess what, guys? You're human too. So today we're going to talk about how to actually feel your feelings and process your emotions. This is really for anyone, but today I'm going to talk to the fellas. What we're going to do today is we're going to actually challenge the stereotypes that says that men shouldn't feel. It's just the way that you guys are programmed and the upbringings that you have, that we're raised in societies that discourage emotional expression. We're going to challenge these stereotypes by acknowledging that it's actually healthy to express yourself and to feel things that you feel. Embracing your emotions doesn't make you any less of a man, and actually is going to make you a healthier masculine man, instead of having all of those emotions kind of fester and you becoming angry, resentful, bitter, what have you. Step one, you are going to learn and practice how to recognize your emotions. Imagine you're watching a movie. When something intense happens on the screen, I want you to do a check-in. Are you getting a little teary-eyed, or do you feel some emotion coming up because it's a heartfelt scene? Or maybe you're starting to kind of clench your fists and tighten up because it's an emotional scene or a scary scene, or you don't know what's going to happen next. You can also do this when you're interacting with other people. When someone does something or says something, when something happens, how do you actually feel? What is the emotion that is inside of you? Start being able to label and name the emotion that you're actually feeling. Recognizing your emotions is like being a director in your own internal movie, where you have to be able to spot what's actually going on. You have to pay attention to what's going on your emotional screen, and it allows you to start being able to process your emotions when you can slow down and accept that you actually feel something. Now here's the deal. Emotions are not good and they're not bad. They're just emotions that you feel. It's totally normal to feel everything: joy, happiness, grief, sadness, frustration, anger, peace, contentment. Think of it this way. Emotions are actually like weather patterns. They change and you just can't control it. Now, when you are not comfortable with emotions, when they happen, you are going to be a lot more reactive to them because they're going to feel uncomfortable. I think men, there's just this stigma that you're not supposed to feel anything uncomfortable. You're not supposed to express yourself. So there's layers to masculinity that you guys are just not taught. Whereas women are more apt to be more emotional, be more in their feelings. And whether you lead with masculine energy, which is more logical, you could also be a man that leads with more feminine energy. And it doesn't make you any less of a man. It just means you're a man that feels things very deeply. And both are, there's no wrong and right here. It's just it's just how you're made up. So once you kind of accept, okay, and by the way, neither are good or bad. I think I said that. It's not always good to be solely stuck in your feminine energy, and it's not good to solely be stuck in your masculine energy. And you could be a woman that is constantly in her masculine and not comfortable with being in her feminine, and vice versa. You could have a man that's way comfortable in his masculine and just avoids his feminine energy of actually dealing with his emotions, talking, vulnerability, etc., etc. The part that really stinks is we just judge feelings as being good or bad, and they're not. They're just feelings that you have to feel because you're a human being. The more you're comfortable with feeling, with expressing yourself, the feelings actually wash through you. They move through you a lot quicker. So if you've ever heard that analogy of just let it move through you, just move through the experience, all those kind of things, it is the allowing of how you feel to be there without an attachment to it. The attachment is you feeding the emotion, feeding the sadness, feeding the anger, where then if you feed it, it'll take you into a direction that you shouldn't be in. A lot of the times it's not so much that you guys are just trying to suppress everything. It is just a matter of upbringing, which we've talked about. It's just boys will be boys, boys don't cry, all of those types of stereotypes that we have sometimes in society. But it's also, unfortunately, the people you were exposed to. If you were exposed to people that weren't comfortable in their own feelings, and I was just having a conversation about this the other day with a client, is you don't have to be raised in the most toxic environments. You could have been raised by perfectly fine people and two parents, they stayed married and everything was kind of hunky-dory, but they're both wounded and they both have their own issues. And whether or not they have acknowledged those issues or were working on them is a completely different story, but you experienced things in your past which basically mirrored suppressing and not acknowledging. that goes beyond just masculine and feminine energy. That goes beyond boys being boys and girls being emotional and boys being all logic and boys shouldn't cry. That just has to do with a person not being comfortable in their own energies as well to be able to express themselves and deal with their own emotions. So if you had a mom who's supposed to be in her feminine energy and she was just emotionally unavailable, she was very judgmental, she was very critical, she didn't allow you to express yourself as a child, you were suppressed in a lot of different ways, you weren't given a voice, you didn't have healthy mirroring, if you had no one to really validate your feelings, if someone was just, no one was behind the wheel, maybe mom was a little checked out in certain ways, whether she was an alcoholic or emotionally abusive or narcissistic, whatever, codependent, whether she was a workaholic, then guess what? You're not going to have the tools. No one would have taught you how to actually do this for yourself. So it's one thing for a parent to give it to the child and then mirror it to them, but it's another thing to then actually teach it to the child so they can do it for themselves. That lack of emotional skills means that you're not going to have the self-awareness and the tools to be able to handle the uncomfortable things that you are going to feel throughout the course of your life, regardless of what it is that you go through. This is just like a basic understanding of mental health and how to take care of yourself. And then you're going to apply it in situations that are difficult. And even though you have the skills, some situations are just really difficult to go through. And this is where you need different outlets in order to express yourself and deal with the emotions that you're actually feeling. Now we're going to talk about finding healthy ways or healthy outlets to express yourself. You are not going to be able to keep everything in because at some point you are going to burst, and that's what we don't want to have happen. And honestly, that's what sometimes typically happens with men, is they can go from 0 to 60 and all of a sudden outbursts happen, and as the outsider you're like, whoa, where did this come from? That reaction was a little either out of character or they just didn't see it coming based on what that person just went through. And this is where you kind of have to try things out and see what works for you. Some people like talking to friends and family. Some people like expressing themselves. Some people need to cry it out. Some people need to go to the gym. Some people need to play a sport. Some people need to have some kind of creative outlet. So there's couple aspects. There's one where we have to express how we feel. You have to be able to acknowledge how you feel, and you have to be able to verbally acknowledge how you feel. You have to be able to state the feeling, but I also want you to understand the story behind the feeling, because the only reason why you feel the way you feel is because of a story you were telling yourself. And 9 times out of 10, that story is not real. It is a made up fear, either based on an assumption, which is a past experience, or a limiting belief that you have about yourself or life. Either way, having an outlet and dealing with how you feel is the acknowledgement, understanding the story, challenging the story, and having that place to get rid of any pent-up energy that you do have. When you are, no matter if you're a man or a woman, but when you're going through this process of really learning how to take care of yourself, when you're learning about mental health, when you're diving into your own personal self-development, you are in a self-discovery period where you're trying to understand yourself, and there's a lot of different things that you're trying because you're trying to figure out what works for you. Do I need to journal? Do I want to have a meditation practice? Do I want to start going for walks? But it is about making yourself a priority to say that I matter and I have to actually deal. Being a healthy adult is you dealing with how you feel and doing the things that you need to do to be the healthiest. Having that level of discipline that says, no, we're not going out tonight. No, I am going to deal with this. I am going to find a therapist or a coach or someone to talk to. I am going to try going to the gym. I am going to move myself in a different direction to help me process everything that I'm feeling and going through. I am going to be more self-aware and disciplined to acknowledge those stories and even start challenging them, because I don't even think that they're true anymore. Practicing mindfulness, whatever you want to call it, mindfulness, self-awareness, any of those kind of terms, being aware of yourself, because you are really parenting yourself. You are really babysitting yourself. It is your job to be able to acknowledge what you're thinking, how you're feeling, acknowledge it, accept it without judgment. Again, you have to remember, you have a program of always jumping to the judgment card because that's what's always happened. That's how you were raised. That's how you were brought up. And even if it wasn't something that you felt like you had every single day, all day, look, Steph, I wasn't judged all day, every day. It's sometimes just human nature just to be really, really hard on ourselves and not know how to actually be that empathetic person that you would be to probably a total stranger. A mindfulness practice means that I'm going to start slowing down. And I can't tell you how many people I've coached over the years that have constantly said to me, Steph, one of the best things that I learned how to do was just slow down. Slowing down allowed me to take a different action, take a different step in a direction that I didn't go before because I was just on autopilot doing the same thing over and over again. Slowing down is just about having that presence to not be in yesterday, not be in tomorrow, and just kind of stay where I am. It allows you to find a lot more peace in your life. You stop letting your mind run ragged and dwell. You start practicing the discipline of not engaging in a story that you know is going to take you down a rabbit hole and it's going to do absolutely no good for you and your mental well-being or emotional well-being. The non-judgment and validating how you feel and accepting who you are, another huge piece towards being mentally healthy, emotionally healthy, and overall happy in life. All I'm asking you to do is start taking 10 or 15 minutes a day or a couple times throughout the day to just stop and check in with yourself. How am I doing? What's on my mind right now? What's going on? What are the thoughts? And just start working through that slowly. You don't have to move mountains. You know, there are days that the story's going to win and there are days that you'll beat that story. And that pattern will slowly start getting a new practice into your life of it's actually healthy for me to feel and I need to feel. I can't suppress any longer. And it'll help you to move through difficult times in your life. It'll help to build a level of healthy confidence that's really attractive. And again, you'll have overall just more peace in your life and more happiness and contentment because you're learning how to actually take care of yourself. And of course, you'll have better quality relationships because you won't be searching for people to do this for you because guess what? Everyone needs this. You're going to either be able to do it for yourself majority of the time or you're going to look to find someone to do it for you because, like I said, we all need this. We all need validation. We all need non-judgment. We all need acceptance. We need these things in order to feel seen and heard. And if you leave that up to someone else to give it to you, you're always going to be disappointed. You're always going to be let down because it's not that person's job to do it. And so it's not their responsibility to show up for you every single day. You have to learn how to show up for yourself and be a big boy. And I know you can do it. How do we accept emotions? This is a little bit of a difficult one. Not really, I guess, but to some people it would be. Look at emotions as colors on a color wheel or a color palette. You're not going to judge blue because blue is better than green or anything like that. They're just all colors. So accepting emotions is just allowing it to be there without attaching a meaning to it. Okay, I feel sad today. Okay, I feel happy today. Of course, why? What's the story? And once you understand the story, then you can actually ask yourself a really great question. This story, is there something there that I need to process? Meaning, is there some kind of feeling that I'm not really dealing with? Is this story true? Or is this story just coming up because I'm in a habit of thinking about this story and then it causes this emotion that I feel? That right there, those three questions will really allow you to start taking charge of your emotions. You'll accept that something's there. Okay, I take responsibility. I accept that I feel this way. I'm not putting it on anyone else. You're going to start working through that emotion by asking yourself these questions. And then, of course, give yourself empathy and validation and all those things. No judgment here. But then at the end, you really have this beautiful and magic gift that we all have, which is called free will. You get to decide in that moment, what direction do I want to go with how I feel? Do I want to stay stuck here? Is this something that I need to work through and process? Is there just this energy regarding this feeling that I'm feeling that is just keeping me stuck? I think a lot of times when you work through the stories that you're telling yourself and challenge those stories, the emotion goes away because the only reason why you're feeling the emotion is because of the story. And that's a huge practice to start implementing in your life. And if you can be consistent with this, it is an absolute game changer. So fellas, I want you to go out there. I want you to feel your feelings. I want you to cry. I want you to do it all. I want you to start practicing step 1, 2, 3, and 4, and really make it a point to say, I'm actually going to be healthy, because again, it's attractive. It'll allow you to find a really healthy partner. We're going to start undoing all of the damage of the past, all the habits that we've been doing over and over again that are no good for us. And I mean, really, that's it. That's all we're going to do. We're going to start practicing today. So you guys, please comment down below, where do you struggle with your own mental health in regards to your feelings? Do you not acknowledge them at all? Do you struggle with giving yourself empathy or validation? Do you struggle with just accepting that you feel a certain way? Or do you get hung up on this feeling and you just go down a rabbit hole ruminating on it? So comment down below, share this with anyone who you think might benefit. I also have 2 free courses linked below as well if you are interested, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care.